Welcome back to JK18 Oddware. Today we're going to take a look at this mouse. Yeah, it's a mouse. Interesting story with this mouse and what it is and all of that. If you look, all it says is M/N, so model number TM2703-3, cordless wheel mouse. Really no other information whatsoever. There's a connect button. This thing, got to figure out how to put batteries in it. Fortunately, there are none in here, but it is a ball mouse. And the best part is it hooks up via PS2 because that was still a thing back in the day. So it hooks up PS2 and it's cordless. And while that in and of itself doesn't make this particularly odd, the fact that it's a ball mouse as well definitely makes it odd. Not that ball mice were anything odd at the time, but just to find one that is actually wireless like this or cordless was pretty good. This receiver module is awesome. It's got two LEDs on it. It looks like a button here, but it's not. It looks like an antenna here, but it's not. And it has a slot in the back, and I have no idea what that's even for, because if you try to like take the wire and like put it through like that, it just, you know, it doesn't hold. And this looks like a button, like I said, but it's not. RM2703. The button here. This looks like an antenna, but it's not. If you take a close look, if it'll focus on it, there's actually an LED in there. And on top of that, I got to be really careful, but that actually can remove. I don't know why, but it was back like at this time where they thought, let's put a cover over it. You know, it's like these little details that you just wouldn't find today. As you saw in the title, this is an Empire mouse. Now, here's how this ties into the story in that. Empire is not the name of the company that made this mouse. By the way, the mouse pad is totally separate. I have a link in the prescription to when I reviewed that. It's just here to assist with this video. I say Empire because back in the day, the Whiff's Job was offering Empire insurance, you know, like Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever they call it now, just Empire Healthcare or whatever it is. For signing up with them, you got this free wireless mouse. So it's called the Empire mouse because there's absolutely no brand. And that was not exactly commonplace in the time when something like this was manufactured. We're going to call this very, very, very late 90s to early 2000s, probably more on the late 90s side, like 98, maybe even 97, 96. But it would have been a really late 96, I'd think. Unfortunately, this has suffered from some yellowing. As you see right there, it's yellower than it is there. But that sort of just adds to the charm of these old things. And this has too, despite the fact that neither of these have ever been in direct contact with sunlight. And in fact, most times they've been shaded from most light completely within the cavities of a desk. So, interesting. Now, to set the stage for this, a couple things. First, I don't know if it still works. This was still on the Whiff's computer. Now, let me give you the backstory with that. When we got our first apartment in late 2002, she had a computer that her brother put together, sort of somehow got it to work and said, here's your computer, and it was a piece of crap, to say the least. I think I might actually still have that machine around, or the replacement for it, I should say. Actually, the first machine wasn't too bad. The replacement for it is still around. The first machine she had, and this is again 2002, and it was already a number of years old. It was like a Pentium 233, 266 megahertz. I don't remember precisely. He put that together for her, and within like 3 months, it just totally died. You turn it on, nothing. And of course, I got in there with my hands, and I went and I reseated the RAM and reseated the processor and did everything you're supposed to do, and the board just completely died. So she said, you got to fix this. So she gave it back to him, and he returned it with another motherboard in there that took an AMD K62 running at 450 megahertz, which generally ran about half as fast as that Pentium 233 did, because AMD sucked back then and still does now, in my opinion, because they ruined it for themselves from back then. They were always trying to play catch up to Intel, and others can argue that as much as they'd like. Eventually she said, listen, with the career path that I'm in and the money that I'm making, this computer is really a turd. I need something decent. I said, well, they got something to fix that, actually. It's called www.dell.com. And yep, like many thousands of others, we went to Dell and configured a system, and it was shipped. Complete, soup to nuts, with like a DVD reader, because burners weren't really a thing yet, and a CD burner, and it had like front panel USB. That was a thing that was fancy at the time. 19-inch Trinitron monitor. It's a Dell branded. Actually, it may not be a Trinitron, but it is Sony branded for sure. It's a Dell rebadge Sony. But it does not have the flat glass. It's still a curvy glass. That monitor exists. The machine existed until some years ago, and it was replaced with something a little better that I had on hand at the time, and was just recently replaced with something a lot newer, which is still really old at this point, and that machine does not have PS2 ports. And considering the fact that I had to revamp everything, I always wanted to make a video of this, so here it is. Now, one other quote-unquote feature of this particular machine that she got back in 2000, I guess 2003 or so, maybe 2004 at the latest. It came with Windows XP. XP was king. It was still practically new. All that stuff. But one of the things that this machine had was an S-video port on the video card. You don't see that kind today, because they don't do that kind anymore. You have your DVI, or you had your DVI, and your VGA, and your HDMI, and your DisplayPort, and I don't even know if they have anything else now on video cards, but they used to come with S-Video. And yes, you could hook up and have dual monitors, although the S-Video was going to be not the greatest picture quality compared to your VGA screen. But it was still an option. And I saw that used years ago, in fact, at our wedding. The guy that had this video job that we hired for the video invited us over to look things over in that, and his setup was set up with a monitor hooked up S-Video, and whatever editing program he could use would preview it on that monitor, which was kind of cool. And it was S-Video, but I mean, you were burning to DVD. It wasn't HD yet. It wasn't a thing, so you had what you had. So what I did is I went and I looked online or somewhere, or maybe even in a store, I don't remember, I found a very long S-video cable and a very long audio cable. And I drilled a hole through the wall from the living room into the bedroom, which is how the place was configured. And yeah, it's an apartment, and you shouldn't be doing that, but too bad. So I did, and I fished the cables through, and that was so it could connect to the TV that we had in the living room, which was a Panasonic 27-inch TV that I had purchased brand new in 2002 for that apartment, that I still have to this day in my bedroom. Linked to that in the prescription. It's a wonderful set, and it still works today in 2025. Now, I had it hooked up to that, and the audio went into sort of a bookshelf type stereo system that we had in the living room as well, so that way I could play MP3s on the computer that was in the bedroom, run the Winamp visualization thing, but play it on the stereo in the living room and have the visualization display on the screen, on the TV screen in there. And we also watched some low-res, low-quality videos back in the day with that, but how do you control a computer in the other room and, you know, running a really long USB cable or PS2 cable was not really a thing, plus the wire coming right in the way. You know, what do you do? And the answer was this very, very mouse. It actually worked in the next room. Was it good? Absolutely not. But it did indeed function. You had to play with it and sometimes walk closer to the wall to make it work, and you were trying to do it on your hand, which you could because it's got a ball, you know, and it was all that game we used to play back in the day. Let's just go over this quickly. Typical, okay. The connect button. Does not click. It's just a mush button. But the connect button on here does click. We have to put batteries in here. I think AA's it took. You gotta peel that, and then it sort of pops, and I think it slides back. There we go. And no, I think that's actually AA's. So I have some right here. Never use Duracell batteries. For this particular instance, it's okay because as soon as the video is over, these are taken out. They will leak in less than a week. Guaranteed. Now, according to the legend on here, this battery goes in this way, and this battery goes in this way. You have no indication from the mouse in terms of a red light or anything because it's not an optical mouse. I don't know if there's an interlock switch for that or anything. There is no way to turn this off, so it will happily drain your batteries out. And the other end hooks up to a computer via PS2. I have a laptop that has that, which I haven't booted up in ages. Let's see if it even works. Here is my Dell Inspiron 5000 laptop. It's got a Pentium 3 600 megahertz in it, and it's got all the legacy ports you could ever want. It has 9-pin serial. There is a fan there, of course. 25-pin parallel. S-video. VGA dock connector. Infrared. A singular USB port, and your PS2 keyboard and mouse. I do not know if that port even works, And we're going to find out now. Okay, I don't know how long it's been since I powered this on, but it's been a long time. Try to get into the BIOS. Yes, I know the screen is pink. Let me try to get in the BIOS and we'll talk. I think that is really the pinkest I have ever seen it. Yeah, it says entering setup. 600 megahertz, 256 megabytes of RAM. And I don't know if you heard that. A floppy drive. The amount of system memory has changed, or the suspend to disk file is absent. Does that mean that the hard drive took a crap? Because that wouldn't be good. I don't know. But here's setup. Let's talk about the pink screen. Old and cold cathode fluorescence. Plus they haven't been turned on in ages. So the screen will have a very pink hue for the first few minutes. It does say the hard disk is there and it's 40 megabytes. Let me set the date and time because, you know, these things happen. Alright, let's see if it complains now, because as far as I remember, this had 256 mega RAM. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. It's booting. Okay. Now, I don't see any lights on here, which is a little concerning. I don't know if this laptop is going to make it work. I might have one other one that has PS2. We'll have to see. Oh, there was a red light that blinked. So that's a sign, at least. Oh yeah, good old Windows XP when shit just worked. Okay, my touchpad is dead. Probably because this is plugged in. I know there's not a shot, but okay. So now there is an IP address conflict. I don't seem to care about that at the moment. Okay, still doesn't work. There is a connect button. The red light flashes. Oh, Dick. It works! Yes! It still works! That is awesome! So what happened here was I clicked the connect button on the bottom of it, and the red light was flashing. And then I hit the connect button on the mouse, and it flashed very rapidly. Just a very, very quick blink like that for, a second or so. And then it's good, and check it out. See, as I move the mouse and click, beep, 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 beep. Yeah, just because of the lights makes this mouse awesome. Because you're really getting that, like, Jetsons vibe of the wireless transmission. It's just awesome. And it seems to, like, the left button doesn't seem like it always makes, but it does seem to transmit every time, which is a little odd. And if you hold the mouse button, it seems to maybe do something different, but it's hard to tell because you got to hold it absolutely still, but it looks like it sends another flash. Yeah, it kind of, like, I think I could probably put some deoxit in the buttons on this and it would probably work a lot better. But it's just from a bygone era in time that we've all forgotten about or blocked out or whatever. I mean, this machine is from 1998, so it is period correct with the mouse, certainly. And I'm running XP on it. It came with 98. It's definitely a bygone era. Back in these days, if you went online at all, you were going online via dial-up. And in case you're wondering, yep, it's got a dial-up modem right here, and a floppy drive, as we talked about before. And this little doohickey here is an Intel Wireless B network card. If I can get it out. There we go. And it is a true PCMCIA card, which of course was people can't memorize computer industry acronyms, because it does not have the gold bumpy stuff, which would make it a card bus card. And yep, 802.11b. And it still works and still connects to my network and still lets me transfer files and all kinds of good stuff, except I shouldn't have done that with the button out. So now it has to try to figure that out, but it will eventually. There it is. It's got it. And as far as before with that memory size issue and the IP address conflict, it just rebooted and it worked. Everything's good. I don't know. After being asleep for so long, you know. We're almost out of the pink. You can see just the center is still a bit pinkish. But otherwise, it works. It's here. And this thing ain't getting any younger. I mean, 98. This laptop is 27 years old. So just a blast from the past. This would have been something you might have had set up. This mouse with a system similar to this back in the day, maybe without the wireless card, but it would have been something that you may have had set up. The only port this doesn't actually have is Ethernet, but that can be solved with a PCMCIA or card bus, because it does support it, Ethernet card, of which I got 2 or 3 of them, or if you really wanted to, and now it says that the wireless has no connection. I don't know. It worked before. It got upset that I took it out, so let's take it out and put it back again. I don't know, but it usually works without a problem. The other way you could solve Ethernet is by plugging in USB, but it is USB 1, so you're going to be limited to a throughput of about 6 megabits per second, which, not for nothing, is about what you'd be getting on the wireless anyway. See, now it works. Just decided. Yeah. So that's all good. I love it. I can't believe it still works after all this time. This mouse is something that I would love to daily drive because of the flashy lights. I think we're even gonna shut the room lights out just to get a little bit better feel. I'll put it here. I'll move you in. I mean, could you even imagine having that on your desk as you mouse around? And we used to use this along with Another mouse. The mouse at the desk was actually a Logitech scroll wheel mouse, and I had a video on fixing one very, very similar that I'll also put a link to in the description. And let's just try taking this little cover off of that just to see if that makes any difference in the way it appears. Probably not. It's a little more crisp, I would say. It's more well defined that way, but definitely that makes it bigger and brighter and redder in that regard. Wow. Wow, I am really thrilled that I was able to get this and get it live and get it working for you. Because it's been around for a very long time. We got this in 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. And this may have been the main mouse on that machine for some time until I got a Logitech mouse for it, and that's been there since. And that's carried over to any subsequent computers there. So that was that. One other little fun tidbit about this mouse. Now, I can't show this to you because it's been lost to the sands of time. Couple things. First of all, I did look on eBay and I actually found 2 listings for this exact setup right here. And one of them was like $15 and the other one was like $12 and $8 shipping or something. And that's where I got the word Empire from, because it actually had the sheet of paper that told you how to set it up in the photo, and it set it there, and then it all clicked in my mind, and it made sense that indeed this was a free giveaway. And that is also how it was portrayed on that paper, which I thought was really cool. The driver disc that came with it, in both of those eBay listings, it was just a plain CD. It said nothing. But the disc that came with this particular set has a word on it that explains one of my nuances in pronunciation. If you've seen me work on computers before, you know that when I have to install a little piece of software that makes some hardware work, a driver, I call it a driver. And that is because this thing was so cheap Chinese back in the day, because yes, it's made in China, that the translation, and you've seen it on the Amazon listings, just didn't work, or misspellings or whatever it is. So they wrote Dervers, D-E-R-V. It was either I or E-R-S. So they could have mixed the E and the I, so it became Dervers, something like that. So it's from then on, from 2002 or 3, has become Dervers. And that's what I will say for the rest of my life. If I ever do find that disc, of course, I will get that image linked in the description, but I don't think it'll ever turn up. But it definitely came from that. I am so thrilled that this thing still works, just for the Jetsons effect of beep 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 beep. When it transmits like that, it's just too awesomely cool. You just don't see that. I think there were a couple of Logitechs, but it has just, like a little green light. Like if if we block out the honkin' red antenna, and the ones on the Logitech weren't even that pronounced, it would just give you an idea that something's happening. But you don't even get those anymore. You don't even get hard drive access lights anymore. If I go over, well, I can't use that. I got to use that. And if I want to load Microsoft Word, which again, the left click doesn't seem to be that crisp, there's your hard drive indicator. And yeah, there's Word back in 1998. Word 2003, running on 1998 hardware. I still use this version of Word to this day because I like the non-ribbon layout, and there's also no subscription, which is really nice. It'll work forever. So I love this version of Word. Anyway, that's all I have for you in this episode of JK18 Oddware, the Empire TM2703-3 wireless PS2 mouse. Wow. Home run in my book. That is completely awesome. I guess the only thing that could possibly make this more awesome would be if it were a serial connected mouse. But if you're going that route, you might as well make it a wireless touchpad, because that's totally stupid, and make it serial, and that would tick every single last option for me. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this look back at this Empire TM2703-3 mouse. It sure was a blast for me breaking this thing back out and getting it working again. I hope you enjoyed as well. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time, possibly in another Oddware episode from JK18. Bye-bye.